Alright, hey YouTube, this is Shmuel Tech back at it again for another review, and this time we're going to review the HTC One M8. Alright, and so I got a few things I like about this phone, mainly now since it is about 2 generations old. It is going to be very cheap and affordable for most people. And so I picked this one up for $37 on eBay. Granted, I don't know if you can tell, but it has a cracked screen, and I was going to use it for my phone provider Ring Plus, which I guess I could do a review of that later. But I was going to do that as a really cheap phone I could use on my carrier, and it's 32 gigabytes for 37 bucks. Even though it's in like terrible condition, I thought it'd be nice because I know it's a solid phone. But otherwise, now I'm just going to give you a review on it and why I think it is still very good today, even though it is a couple years old. So what I really like about the phone is the screen is 1080p as said online, but it's only 5 inches, and I had a review of the LG G2, which was 5.2 inches, and I feel like that the 5-inch screen and the 5.2-inch screen really, oh, I dropped it there, really are more, I feel like they're better than the, when I read the LG G5, like the 5.5-inch screens and bigger, like, there's a certain size to how big a phone should be, and I know the 5.5-inch size is pretty popular, but I feel like this is more manageable because you can still hit up top, swipe down, swipe to side. Like it's a lot more easier to use, and it still is pretty high resolution. And it feels nice. Other than that, there's a few other things I liked. I really like the metal body. I think it was at the time it came out, it was probably either following an iPhone, but it really feels really nice, and as you can see on mine, it's pretty dinged up around, but still feels nice. Like I wouldn't want to put a case on this, sort of that type of feel, I guess. But the top where the power button is kind of does take away from that, because even the volume buttons are metal, but then the top is plastic and the button's plastic too, and that kind of just lets you down. But it's not that bad. On the bottom, you just have the standard headphone jack and port, and I feel like they're placed decently. I don't know, I'm just used to an iPhone, so having this on this side just gets me screwed up a bit. But as you can see, it's really beat up here, so. But it really doesn't impact it at all much. And I've also been using, this phone also has the tap to wake feature that I love from LG. It just got incorporated, so just double tap to turn it on, double tap to turn it off, that type of deal. It's not, I don't think it's as good as LG's, but it's still pretty nice. The battery life on this phone is it exceeded my expectations. I feel like it may be, I don't know if it's as good as it was when it came out, but it's still pretty nice. Like I'm impressed, honestly. A lot of people don't like the camera on this phone, but I feel like it's fine. It does take a little bit to load, as you can see there. There's probably like a 2-second delay, but it does take some pretty decent pictures. They may not be the high resolution that most people want, but they are pretty nice. And like, you can only really notice the lack of resolution when you zoom in a lot, but other than that, I don't think it's like totally unfunctional. Like a lot of cameras today have too many, like a lot of megapixels, which helps, makes it pictures take up more storage and stuff, but these being 4 megapixels makes use of that. Also, speaking on that note, for storage, I wouldn't suggest buying a 16 gigabyte this version ever. I wouldn't suggest buying a 16 gigabyte of any phone ever, because right now I have a 16 gigabyte iPhone 6s and I'm absolutely dying on it. I have no storage. Every time it downloads an iOS update, I'm out of storage. So I say 32 is definitely the minimum. Other than that, another great thing about this is that it has upgraded to HTC Sense 7, which isn't too bad. Like when you hit the apps, it goes scrolls up and stuff. I don't mind it. But it's I don't feel like it's as good as stock, but still, it's considering it's Marshmallow, I think it's pretty updated for a 2-year-old phone. However, HTC did say they will not update the Nougat, which is Android 7, so I'm a little disappointed with that. But then again, I don't think you can complain about much for it being this up to date, while still a lot of like LG phones. I know the LG G3 I think is still on Android 5, so I feel like that's good, and it works pretty well too. So other than that, I guess there's not too much to complain about. So, what else? The one thing I didn't like was the buttons they're not very good. On the side, I don't know if you can tell, but they're barely there. And you can click it, but it's just not substantial like other phones. Like iPhones, I think, have like pretty good buttons. And the placement of this top one, I don't really like that much. Because like, when you get to a phone this big, I feel like the button should definitely be on the side. Like with an iPhone, which they did recently, and Samsung's been doing for a while. But because it's just not practical to be able to have to go up, reach up like that and press it. Because then you have to hold the phone awkward. And it's not as like one-handed. Whereas if it's on the side, you could just click it on, off, whatever. But then there is that knock on, knock off feature that you could use too to turn on. But that's totally up to the user. Other than that, I feel like it's a great Android experience. Not pure Android, but still, for what it costs now, I know you can get these for probably around $80, maybe $100 if you. It depends, probably $80, $100 for whichever carrier you want, probably. And I think that's a pretty good deal considering what it can do. And in this day and age, how decently it is held up. Well, that's my take on it. This is Schmoogle Tech signing out. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.